talk about a couple of things. One, I'm a bit of a hypocrite, right? Because I tell everybody not to read the news, to get those inputs, that garbage out of your life. And yet I'm a marketer. I have to read the news because I have to get some inputs in terms of headlines and what's going on in the world, right? And, I pinged Nick this morning in Slack and I was like, dude, we have got to go do a live because these headlines are getting out of control. And they're probably not the headlines that you're thinking about or necessarily super aware of. So I wanted to just touch on them. I'm going to jump right into a screen share and do it. But, what triggered this for me is I went somewhere this weekend I hadn't been in 3 months, and I spent a bunch of time in this place. It's just out in the desert. I spent a bunch of time in this place throughout the entire pandemic for reasons I don't want to go into. And it was sort of surreal being back there and seeing how the town had changed and what's changed as we're sort of emerging out of COVID, but not really. And it just brought back some profound remembrance, if you will, when COVID hit. Okay, Nick and I saw the opportunity for what was going on, realized how much help we needed to give our customers, and we just started shipping lives like it was going out of control. I mean, you and I were going live sometimes twice a day, talking about various different topics and everything else. And I don't need to bang on about that because I've talked about lives ad nauseum. But the more important part is that you and I started to speculate in our own minds. Not that we're wizards or smart, but we pay attention to what's going on. Speculate in our own minds what a COVID, post-COVID, back into COVID world potentially looks like, what that portends for our customers' business, what that portends for art sales, combining that with the facts that we had on the ground at the time, combining that with the inputs that we have, which are, you and I follow a lot of really, really smart Silicon Valley type startup types of people that were way on top of this and geeking out on this too, retail experts and the like. And it feels to me like we got some pretty serious validation. I think, not to toot our own horns, as I toot our own horns, if you look back historically at a lot of the predictions that we made, okay, about what our world was going to look like post-COVID, a lot of those have really rung true. And again, I think we were just on it. We were, it's less about how intelligent or genius we are and more about, the fact that we were really switched on to it, really seriously thinking about it very early on, rather than just sitting and burying our heads in the sand, right? Like we were taking a very, very intentional and close look at it. And so
we've got all the data and information coming in at us like hot and heavy all day long, right? When you're dealing with thousands and thousands and thousands of artists and photographers and art galleries and everything, the data is coming in from everywhere, right? Yes. Very well connected in the industry. I've been in the industry for 20 years, so I've got it coming from the printing world, right? Yep. Like the fine art printing, photography printing, like all the different data coming in. And so you can make a much more educated predictions about what's going on. And as we go along, like updating everybody on what's happening and what they should be thinking about.
Yep. So I saw these headlines and they jumped out, and I'm gonna share my screen here on Instagram. I'll read the headline so you can get it. But the first one's from NPR, and it's Zoom towns and the new housing market for the two Americas, right? And they're constantly interviewing in these things when these stories come up, and I realize I got to scroll over to be able to zoom on it. But they're constantly interviewing Redfin and the Zillow guys, right, to talk about housing prices in these new areas. And they focused at the top of this article on Truckee, California, which is like 3 hours east of San Francisco, I think, thereabouts. And their housing prices are up 23% over the year, right? And their contention in this article is Zoom towns, right, which are these new places that you can live, okay, and people are fleeing the cities and they're moving out to these places because they don't need to be in an office anymore. And this is a very real and true one for us, for no other reason than our office is closed down, it's sitting there empty, and chances are we ain't going back. So this one plays on like 3 different levels. One, where are all the big shows and fairs and galleries located? In the big cities. What's happening to those cities? People are moving out in droves. I mean, I think about what's going on with my friends in New York and talking about how he used to have 15 options to eat lunch, and he works in downtown and midtown, and now he's got like 4, right? And they're just closed. They're not opening back up. So this concept of everybody moving is creating such a level of disruption, and all it does is speak to the normal retail ways of life not coming back. They're not coming back. It feels like habits are changing. And you had an interesting tidbit on that one about shopping in general, right? You want to talk about that one?
Which one?
The changes in shopping habits, not going to.
Oh yeah.
That one really spun my noodles.
Yeah. So what's happening is that, some very smart people have that work for some very, very large companies in the United States have said that retail has opened up somewhat in some areas, right? You got to have masks on and things like that. But and some people in some cases are, lined up outside the store to go inside, right? But the only people that are going to stores, they need to buy something. Okay. They have a need right then and there. They're going in with the intention of buying something. Okay. What has completely stopped, okay, is the shopping experience. Hey, let's go to the mall today, right? Let's go walk around there. Let's have lunch, and let's go to a couple stores there and pick up a few things. That is dead. That is completely dead, right? And they all believe that, that the big department stores and all of those, like, they're going to be going down, like, in big numbers. The shop, like, and what's happened, right? Outside of that is that people have, more people than ever have experienced the convenience of buying online, right? That's what it is. Like, people that didn't realize all the different things that they could buy online, and that they don't have to go to the mall. They don't have to go to downtown. They don't have to do all of these. They don't have to bother with that. And more often than not, the experience is way better and you save a ton of time. And here's the thing, right? When you can sell time back to consumers, they almost always take it, right? Yeah. Like, you think about all the businesses that sell time. You think Amazon is selling you 2-day prime shipping? They're selling you time, okay? Uber selling you time, convenience, right? Like, people will pay more to get their time back. And that habit that everybody has been forming here, right? Trying different experiences, getting all this time back. It's kind of like, whoa, I was wasting a lot of time doing those different things, So, and I think the consensus overall with these big companies that sell a lot in retail is that, the habit forming on the online buying, they chart these things out like 10 years, right? Like, the big companies, they chart out like, okay, look at our online business for the last 10 years. It's going do, and they're like, okay, this is where it's going to be in 2025. This is where it's going to be in 2030. And so when they say that, 10 years has, like, 2030 has been pulled back to today, or 2025 has been pulled back to 2020, what they're saying is those sales projections that they had estimated for 2025 are happening this year in 2020, right? And it's just an unbelievable thing to like wrap your head around it,
That the habit changing just across the board, and all of these things hurt retail art sales. Okay, they don't hurt retail art sales to the detriment of art sales overall, thankfully, but the retail opportunity,
the physical presence. Yeah,
they are bad. It's bad. One, like, the key takeaways of everything that we just said. One, people are moving out of the major metros in pretty robust clips, right? So that's going to kill stuff. They are not shopping just to shop, right? So they're laser focused on getting whatever it is and getting out. And two, habits are forever changing. Okay, habits are forever changing, and that's a key takeaway. And we don't need to look any further than headline number 2 from the day, which sort of blew my mind. But wait till I show you this one. Let me get over to it. So that was the Zoom towns. Look at this one. Amazon hires 100,000 workers. 100. Could you imagine hiring 100,000 workers ahead of a holiday season amid pandemic-inspired e-commerce boom? Okay.
They're hiring 100,000 workers ahead of this pandemic-inspired e-commerce boom. Unbelievable.
I mean, unreal, right? Like, I saw that.
Totally predictable, but unreal.
Totally predictable. Yeah. And we've said a ton of it, right? We've said a ton of it for a number of days, for months and months and months. But, like, how many data points do you need to bring this home to make this more clear than ever? And just because I've got the screen share, let me just finish off with the last one, and then we can get into some conjecture on it. Hold on. And this was the last one, which also terrifies me. Okay. And the headline is, Infighting and resignations rock the Knesset, that's Israel's parliament or whatever, or Senate and House, as Israel imposes second sweeping nationwide lockdown, right? And they're closing schools.
Another lockdown. They're doing a second lockdown.
Yeah, and who knows how long it lasts and everything else. But the fear is just this perfect storm that we have coming of people fleeing out of the cities, retail suffering, especially in the biggest markets period, habit changing, everything moving online to the next one, which is even worse, which is cold and flu season coming, right? It getting colder across the US and another lockdown coming for whatever reason. And it's like you couple all of those up with everything that we've been talking about this entire time, and it is the perfect storm. It's going to be one of the biggest Q4s ever, and we need to get into that in high net worth buyers and how they're largely not affected. Like, yes, there are some detrimental economic things taking place here, notwithstanding how many people are out of work and everything else. But do you know, by and large, who's not out of work? A huge subset of the economy, all of which are high net worth individuals. I mean, there's a lot of people talking about the two Americas. And whether you buy into that whole two Americas thing or not, there is certainly a number of winners that are doing quite well, that are not going to be retail shopping, that are going to be buying online, and that are going to be stuck in their houses. Like, how many more signals do we need that this Q4 is going to be bananas? And
there's a few things in here, and I got to talk about this too. So whenever we say retail, we should always say in-person retail, right? So like, because there's online retail, which is where the explosion is happening. That's where all the demand is. And then there's in-person retail, which is destroyed, the retail apocalypse, right? That's the in-person retail apocalypse. So obviously, if you're an artist or photographer and you are not investing like into your personal development to personally gain the skills to run an online business, like you have an offline business and an online business, but to run your business through digital technology and understand how to market yourself and not be dependent on galleries and art shows, you've just completely blown it. I mean, you should have already been on this. You should have already been on this months ago. You should have already been on this years ago. But now it's like, you have to be on this. Like, this is the future. You will not see people selling $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 a year, artists or photographers, who did not do this, okay, in the coming years. Like this year, the next year, and the year after. So that being said, that's the first thing. The second thing is, I got to talk about, because I do see a comment, somebody tells me, like, probably once a day, right? And or ask me the question, artists and photographers, they say, are people really buying art when they don't have jobs and when they're starving? And I'm like, what world? What are you in, right? And so I have to explain what's going on here, right? If the people that make $100,000 or more a year have been unaffected by this, everybody, unaffected completely. Okay, you may have a friend who might have been affected, but here's the thing. People are going from great employees are going from affected companies to unaffected companies, okay? And they are maintaining their salaries, in some cases getting raises, okay? And like, for example, like at art storefronts, right? At art storefronts, we have almost doubled in size during this pandemic, Pat. Truth, right? We've almost doubled in size. What have we been doing? We've been hiring like crazy. You and I, just before this session, we spent a half an hour talking about candidates and hiring. We have the biggest staff ever, right? And so there's companies, Amazon, obviously hiring, Zoom. I mean, there's tons of companies that are doing really well. It's Shopify. There's any online e-commerce type of business, like that's where the demand is going. That's where people are going, right? And it's the talent and the jobs are going from affected businesses to unaffected. In fact, thriving. It's really sad because it's like what's happening is like there's a shift of wealth, of revenue that's going from the unaffected company or the affected to the unaffected, right? Because like it's unfortunate the small retailer is getting crushed that had a physical store, and that business is going to Amazon. You know what I mean? Because it's all going online. But the most important thing is that this is not like a global, like like a 2008 recession. And if your mind is thinking that way, you are lost. You are totally lost. Okay.
Yep.
And this is
why. Wrong inputs. You got the wrong
inputs. You got the wrong sources of information, and you better check that, because you're going to make a lot of really bad decisions, with that low quality of thinking. Right. So that's why it's important to hear this stuff. Like, especially if it's new information for you today, like you can really make a lot of changes. But that's why, like, we've been reporting that for since April, since the very beginning of the pandemic, like at the first week of April, we've seen Black Friday levels of sales from the artists and photographers on our art storefronts. And Pat, this is going to be the truth. We are going to be reporting this year in 2020. This is like profound. We are going to have more record-setting stories that we will be releasing than any other year. That's a fact. I already know it, because we know we have photographers and artists that we know have set themselves goals. Like Andy Crawford, just on the top of my head. Like, I think he's already hit his 2020 goal, He already hit it. And we're not even at the fourth quarter yet, which is the biggest art selling time of the year. So we are going, like, if you're on our email list or you're following us on social media and all that stuff, you're going to see that we're going to be reporting sales numbers that are like mind-boggling this year. So-and-so hit a record. This person hit a record. This artist hit a record. This photographer hit an all-time record. Those are going to be happening in the highest quantities this year than ever before. And if that doesn't wake you up, like, you're like, if you're thinking like, how and why? You guys, it is so simple. It's so logical to understand. When all the retail stores across the country are shut down, all the art shows, all of that demand for art that you never could participate in, because all you did was probably participate in your local shows in your city, maybe one or two cities, and that's it. But we're talking about the entire nation. We're talking about the entire world, right? All of that has gone online and is up for grabs for you, for the individual. That's why the art storefront's customer has been so well positioned to do well in this era if they've been working hard on their marketing, you know what I mean, and running and like intentional about growing their business. It's extremely logical. Like, it's no different.
Like, out of the art world too. Take it out of the art world for a second and give it some more teeth. Take whatever your favorite product is that sells down at the mall, and let's say it's makeup, right? Or like a hair care product or lingerie or whatever, right? You're selling this stuff through retail stores. You're paying commission to sales folks to move the product. You have increased overhead as a result of the rent of that store, and you have a demand that maybe it's gone down a little bit, maybe it's gone up a little bit. Now, instead of selling that in a retail store, the commissions, the rent, the overhead, they're selling direct on their website. No commissions, no advertising expenses in many cases, right? Because if you need that makeup or if you need that clothing item, and now all of a sudden you go direct to the retailer and you get it, that is the exact same thing that's happening in the art world. You do not have any intermediaries that now have a hand in your pocket, yet the demand is still there. And in contrast to many of the other industries, art, because we're stuck at home, because we're finally bored of our walls, because we're on Zoom calls, has gone through the roof and will stay that way as the lockdowns continue, or in my state, I'm in California, as no one's allowed to go outside because the air quality is so terrible, or Oregon or Washington. It's like, how many, my larger narrative of this whole thing is like, how many more positive things can happen for the art or photography market with Q4 coming than this? Like, how much more? I mean, don't get me wrong, we're in a terrible condition in a number of different reasons in the world for a whole bunch of different reasons, but all of them seem to favor art and photography sales direct and online.
It does.
I'm on a non-customer call, the Art Business Workshops, which, by the way, free one today in 15 minutes. Get on a Zoom call, find out what we do, ask me any questions you like. I'm hosting it today, and there's a link in the bio.
Consulting.
Yep, there's a link in Instagram. You can just click it, get on the Zoom session, get registered, and come watch it. But I'm talking to a guy that blew my mind, and his name was Ophir. Ophir, shout out to you if you're listening. And he's like, dude, I listened to the podcast, and I have an art show in Chelsea in New York. He's like, I turned the phone on. I said, I'm going to be doing a live art show in a couple hours. Took your prompting. He's like, I sold 8 pieces. 8 pieces. And you couple that. He's not even a customer. I was like, wait till you get inside, learn the rest of my tricks. But I couple that with the level, okay, of success across the board that I'm seeing by people that are starting to understand, I need to merchandise, I need to sell my stuff direct, I have this incredible opportunity to do this. And it's like, look, anytime you're in a dumpster fire situation like this, you can sit down in the depths and be bummed and be upset and woe is me and look at the terrible economic situations. And I'm not trying to poo-poo any of that. I know it's tough for some people, but these situations do not come around all that often. When they do, each and every time, they create with them a commensurate amount of opportunities that did not exist before, okay? In the selling direct, via live video, via flash sales, via live art shows, via your website, understanding all the nuts and bolts and process of that, puts you in an opportunity to be able to sell direct, to not take a haircut on any of your sales with a surging Q4 that's going to be the highest the art world's probably seen in 15 years. Like it's going to be insane. It is insane. Like the disruption has created a level of opportunity. And so while it's easy to get down in the depths, you have to understand this is likely the best thing that has ever happened to the art and photography markets, because it takes the power out of middlemen's hands and puts it directly back into yours. It's there. It's there. I've never seen this level of success with selling, period, full stop. Not the 7 years we've been doing this. Full stop, no. Never seen success like this. People just getting started, a couple weeks in, selling 12 pieces on their first live art show. That's not normal. That's not normal. In digital marketing, that's not normal. You can have a retail store and selling 12 pieces. It's not normal.
Pat, if it was 2019 or 2018, that would have been unreal. I mean, we're talking about this is happening right now at this time. You know what I mean? Like, I know. Like it didn't happen last year. It's happening now. It's happening now. Yes. You know, it's just amazing.
Yeah.
Just an amazing time. It's super exciting. I mean, like I mean, you guys, anytime you see any sort of a headline or article that talks about how much business is moving online in general, e-commerce, you know, all that stuff, you should be jumping up and down because the power is being shifted back to you. And it is amazing, right? It's amazing. And going back to what I was saying about like when everything goes online, the way that you have to look at it is that like your market size, like the market opportunity, the number of buyers that you had, like might have been like, you know, 10%. And it's just gone up by like 5X or 10X, you know, like the market size has just dramatically increased. So when you're putting stuff out there, if you actually market yourself online, you have the opportunity to get in front of more eyeballs than ever before and more potential demand. And that's all it is. That's all it is. That's why this is happening, right? Because those people cannot buy at an art show. They can't buy at a retail art gallery in their respective They're not going, and they're not going anyway. And it's not in their respective cities and towns. These things are not happening. And so that demand is up for grabs, okay? That demand is up for grabs. And so if you know how to market yourself and get your art in front of more eyeballs and things like that, then you're going to take advantage of it. It's as simple as that. It is as simple as that. So everything that you do, every piece of effort that you put in now is going to have a higher ROI, return on investment, you know, mainly your time, right? A return on your time than it ever did before.
Yeah, it is profound. It's amazing. And look, you know, I feel like a talking head, right? On like one of the financial shows where I'm like giving market advice, but I don't feel like I'm that exposed this time around, right? Like one, my hands are in the dirt. I'm seeing the data, right? It's not like I'm an economist, okay? Like talking about general macroeconomic trends. I'm actually working in a business. And so I have access to data that feels a little bit more real to me. But also, you know, it's not hyperbole to say this is going to be the biggest Q4, okay? Until people are not locked in their houses anymore. When's that going to happen? We're by and large still locked in our houses, right? Like, yes, people are going out and resuming some form of normalcy, but what's going to happen when winter comes? Outdoor restaurants, that gets a little bit trickier, right? Another COVID outbreak. So that fundamentally is the first reason why the art and photography sales are exploding. Two, the lack of available options to get this product when you're in the market for it, right? Which is significant. And three, yes, call it like, you know, there's the winners and losers out of this whole thing, but in terms of purchasing power, you're not spending as much money as you used to. It's too hard to spend it. You can't, I mean, the NFL opened this weekend, empty stadiums. No one's going to the game. No one's tailgating. No one's buying the food. No one's in the concession stands. No one's staying somewhere for the weekend, right? Like, How many different opportunities, how many different examples, the lack of international travel, right? Like the not going out to dinners as much, the not going out to bars. Like there is just common sense, a lot less outflow money going on, aside from parents with the doggone babysitters and the freaking remote learning and all the rest of it. But there's just too many contributive factors, okay? And I don't think it's conjecture or hyperbole on our part. And look, this is live. It's recorded. It's going to go in the can. We'll be able to revisit it. How fun will that show be when we go a year down the line and we start revisiting the predictions? Of course, we want to show you the ones we're wrong on. Okay, I know how to play this game, but there's going to be enough ones that we're right that it's going to be significant.
Do you know what else too? On top of all of those other things that you listed, was like the real estate market. Like home sales are like they're up everywhere, right? Yeah. What happens when people buy new homes? What happens when people buy new homes?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They buy art. They have to, they buy new furniture. They got to outfit the place, right? So like that's been going on all over. People are moving all around. People are buying homes. Like they say that more millennials than ever are buying homes now. This group of people who thought that, they were talking for years, oh, we're not going to buy homes. We're not going to buy homes. We're just going to be nomads. We're going to be digital nomads or whatever they want, whatever they say. Well, now they're buying homes. They're buying homes because it's like, wait a minute. I don't want to be stuck in this condo apartment, little tiny thing. All of a sudden, it's kind of nice to have your own house and maybe with a little yard, that, like the value of that now has gone through the roof. So a lot of people who also have been renting in condos and apartments are moving out of those places and they're buying homes with more wall space and all of that stuff. This is all obvious. This information has all been out there. It's happening like crazy, and it's going to continue happening.
We haven't talked about that one, and that one's sort of profound, and I feel like we haven't beat the drum. But what is one of the single solitary best events for the purchase of art? New home purchases. Okay?
Yes.
What is one of the best events for the sale of art and photography? Home upgrades from small spaces to big spaces. When you move out of the cities, what happens? You get more space. You got more white walls. And look, somebody's art's going to go on that walls. Somebody's art, right. It's going to be our customers. I'll tell you that much. I'm going to continue to bang the drum on this. But that's what I got. What do you have in terms of announcements? I got to get ready for the workshop. Top of the hour, Zoom call. Link in the description here on Facebook. Link in the bio on Instagram. All you have to do is click the link, put your email in there. Zoom will send you the reminder, put you right in the call, and we can talk about it face to face. Talk about how to get you best set up to take advantage between now and Q4. Clock is ticking. Boy, is it ticking.
And what Patrick's talking about is free for non-Art Storefronts members. Okay, so it's your chance to get your business questions, your marketing questions answered. Where are you stuck? Let him get you unstuck. Okay, so it's in 40 minutes. That session is starting. All right, so I encourage you guys to go. They're awesome. The questions from all the different artists and photographers are just fantastic. People come to 3, 4, 5 sessions sometimes. They stay on for multiple hours because the quality of the conversation is just incredible, right? So you'll learn a lot. I highly recommend going. And outside of that, though, have to mention, we've got our summer special that we extended is ending at the end of September. Okay, there's not much time left. It's September 14th. It ends at the end of the month, the last business day, which is probably a week from Friday. And so if you're interested in getting your business going, or joining Art Storefronts, or you just want to learn more, in the meanwhile, your next step is to request a demo. There should be a link in the description of this post, Instagram. It'll be in the bio, and you can always just go to our website at artstorefronts.com. There's a button in the upper right-hand corner, always there. It says request a demo. Do that, and one of the people on our team will reach out to you and take a look at your art, talk to you about your goals, what you're looking to do, make sure you're a good fit, and then they can show you everything we do at Art Storefronts, okay? And the two main things we do, number one, we equip you with a proper art gallery website with all the features and functionality to sell art online and give your customers an amazing buying experience. And then number two, the most important thing by far, because a website is not enough, is the marketing consulting. It's ongoing, and we provide you with that to help you get your artwork in front of more people, to grow your audience, your email list, And that's obviously the only way you're going to grow a business. You got to have the marketing problem solved. Okay. So those are the two things. If you're interested in learning more, request a demo. That's it though. Yeah.
Yep, we leave it there. I got to get ready.
All right, guys. We'll
All right.
see you soon. Thanks.
Everybody have a great week.